Hello everyone, I'm Sam and you are listening to Chilliteracy, where it's Saturday, I'm unmuted, the desktop audio is muted, and the stream should not in any way be rebroadcasting back through as we've done in the past. So I think we're all here and okay. You hope I'm well, Lady Mephistopheles? Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit, not right now, tired. Have generally been for the last few days because I've been making poor life choices. The Dota 2 International, the big annual tournament for that game that I haven't played in years, but I haven't even followed the professional scene for years. But you know, it's kind of a big annual event, and it's an excuse to sit and watch a whole bunch of games being played. That's taking place in Shanghai at the moment, which is cool and fine and good, except that it means that the games start as the crow flies for me at 4 in the morning. But the good news is, because it's an e-sport, not like a regular sport, they play just an absurd amount of games in a day. So they start at 4 in the morning, and I have first night I kind of stayed up and watched the first match, and then no, this is silly, go to bed. Have I been getting up at 4, staying up to 4? Well, that's what I'll explain. I have been going to sleep at around 4 because I would, but also they've been playing 4 matches a day, and each of those are a best of 3, and pretty much all of them have gone to the full 3 matches, and one round can take an hour, so you're looking at about 3 hours per about 3 hours per game minimum in terms of broadcast time. They've done a couple of 16-hour broadcast days. So what that means is that I've been kind of crashing out and going to bed at about 3:30, 4 in the morning, maybe 4:30 or whatever, and then waking up at 10 or 11 and just thinking, well, I guess I'm awake and there's games on, so I should watch them. So I've not been doing the right thing, but I haven't been doing the really wrong thing. Me in the past, younger me, would have gone, oh, there's games on, and just attempted to stay up. And been awake from whatever time the day before until through 4 in the morning until 3, 4, 5 the next day. It's yeah, exactly. It's progress of a sort. Harpers, hello, welcome, and everyone else as well. I saw Smallcog and Helmants and others who are coming quick. Hello. Parola, also hello. And anyone else who I may have missed and I'm not seeing currently in chat or is lurking, also hello, welcome. Here for the middle of the story because you want a calm chatter in the background as you clean up the guild shop and tidy up together. There's a spate of tidy up games at the moment, aren't there? I'll be honest, I don't trust any of them to not have AI generated stuff, and it's not not for any reason, not for any valid reason I can point to. It's just whenever there's 50 of something will suddenly appear at the same time, I'm one of you's got to be doing it and not disclosing. So I just, plus, you know what, I don't need the power fantasy of being able to make myself tidy up when that's just something I should do myself in my own space. The one you're using theoretically has the no AI info on the page, and you'll assume they're not lying. Okay, well that's fair. Yeah, that's the thing. If if someone is actually willing to say, hey, yes, we have not used this, then that's more valid in my book. That's fair. Because that's actually then setting themselves up to be caught in a lie, as opposed to just, well, we never said we didn't, when they do get caught, you know? So that's, if someone's willing to stick their neck out like that, I'll trust them a little better. But good, nice, I hope you're enjoying it. And yes, happy to provide some background audio. I will be getting into the book fairly swiftly, I think, because we've got a more substantial amount to read tonight. Tidying up IRL is much more difficult and less satisfying. Yes, true, absolutely. I completely agree, but also I know that if I'm playing a video game to tidy up, I will be sat there feeling guilty because I'm not actually doing this in real life. You've only played A Little to the Left when it comes to tidying up games. So after I'd played A Little to the Left, because it was on Game Pass, I was talking about it to Dave, and he was like, oh yeah, I think it's a game you'd really like, or I imagine it's one you really enjoyed. And I was like, I hated it. I absolutely hated playing A Little to the Left. And I think it's because when in a game like that, when you run up against its own rules for how something should be organized, I found it infuriating. I'm like, no, just let me have this, give me this, let me have this success. And it didn't. I just like, no, I like that. Feeling like I had done the job, and then the game going, you haven't done it yet. That like instantly spiked me into a rage. I couldn't handle it. So I actually didn't get on with A Little to the Left, and maybe I shouldn't play tidy up games. Maybe they're not for me, and that's okay. Some things aren't for everybody. And we can all agree to that, I think. Has anything else been up? Anything else going on? I don't think. Just trying to think. Do I have anything else to talk about? Possibly not. I have very exciting news. I think I've actually mentioned it on Wednesday. I have a new keyboard now for my computer. It's okay, actually. A couple of the keys are a little sticky, which is sad, because it's a mechanical keyboard, and it wasn't like, you know, expensive mechanical keyboards go for like a couple of $100. It wasn't that, but it wasn't a cheap keyboard, and a couple of the keys I think they'll just work loose with just a little bit of use. But if you see me typing sentences with missing commas or full stops, that's what's happened. I've hit the key and it's just not registered the press. But other than that, it's pretty nice. I quite like it. It has, as a keyboard must do now, it has a nice backlight. It's just a white backlight. My last one was like rainbow coloured, but my last one drove me to a fury with its multiple key presses that I couldn't fix. Oh, Harpers, is yours still broken? I'm sorry. And the backlight on this one, I had it for a little while. It's quite a neat one where, like, when you press a key, like the keyboard's dark, but when you press a key, like the lights ripple out from it, and it looks really cool. But it's also really unhelpful if you're trying to type in the dark and you can't see the letters on the keyboard. Not at all. You remembering? Ah, okay, good. You have a cat on your legs, which is very cute, except he's occasionally dripping snot on your foot. Lovely. I've been up to anything else? Probably not. I've just been getting up and watching the International, which tomorrow is the last day. The grand final. I know that I am the only person here that cares about this, so I'm not going to wang on about it forever. But yeah, I'll be watching that. That'll be exciting. The team, I'm a dedicated hater, and the team that I wanted to lose crashed out the other day. So I'm fine with really whoever wins. It's like there's very few teams, in fact I would say no teams, that aren't sponsored by either like gambling or crypto. So you're picking your flavour of poison, really. To be fair, it's my stream. I can bang on about whatever I want. It's true, but also I am, this live streaming is busking, and especially this. It's like you are here to hear a story, really, at some point. And if the guy busking in the high street with the guitar just starts talking about what he's had for lunch and what he's been watching on TV lately, you're not going to get a lot of money in the box, So I should probably move on. I think unless anyone else has anything you want to talk about. I don't know how you're doing. You're well? You okay? You there in chat, or you watching, listening on YouTube, catching the VOD? Reminder again, if it's needed. If you're listening here and thinking, wow, this guy talks a lot, loves the sound of his own voice. 1, I don't love the sound of my own voice. And 2, you can skip ahead. For a couple of years now, you can click down into the description below the video and skip to where I start reading. You'll hear me say something like, "Let us continue with The Nightland" by William Hope Hodgson. And boom, you're into the story. It'll sound almost exactly like that. I think that's a pretty good impression of me. Listening and puzzling? Nice. I did actually just... Okay, one more thing. One more indulgence. I did just learn of a new... Well, new to me. It came out a few months ago. Video game. Called Emurom. Emuurom. Which it looks kind of similar to other games that I have enjoyed. Like Animal Well. Where it's sort of a non-combat puzzly game where you explore and secrets and puzzles and things are revealed to you as you explore and adventure through the world. And if you know anything about me, you'll know that I love walking into a room in a video game and then that I've been through 50 times before, and then I suddenly go, oh wait, and realise that I've been surrounded by cool puzzles and hidden information the entire time. And on this pass through, I've entered in with new information in my head that unlocks a whole world of secrets. And it's as if the frame around the world has just shifted slightly and pulled back, and you can see a little bit more. That's the good stuff. Put that in my veins. And this sounds like another one of those. So I expect if I play that, you'll be hearing about it if it meets my high and exacting standards. I also been gently plugging away on the Kernowick, learning a little bit of Cornish. Not with any degree of spoken fluency. For instance, where my brain keeps going to for his greeting is "and you." It's not a T. Is "and you," like a question. It's like, you're firing off. Oh yeah, how you doing? Yeah, not so bad. And you? Yeah, okay. That sort of thing. It would slot into that, but no, it's you is hi. Or I think I dropped this one before. Dithda is a more formal hello. We got those down. Do I have any other fun words to report? I think I said last time, Uthic is awful. Brintin, brilliant. Splan, splendid. It feels a little bit like it's taking the piss out of itself, but that's okay. I can learn this. I can work with this. So there. Oh, Harper's because you might have missed it, Sam. Now I'm going to biff it. Now you put me on the spot. Wrocław. Sam can say Wrocław perfectly. And I hope I just managed it. Because otherwise, that's... Well done, thank you. That's it. See, Lucy treats this like I did it just to shame her. It wasn't. I'm just interested in these things. And she was traveling there, and I was like, okay, I want to know how to pronounce this properly. Not to flex on anyone, not to dab on the haters, not to show anyone up, but it's just I'm interested. And so I looked up a guide online. I think it was just Google, like, how do you pronounce this? And it was one of the ones that had like an audio accompaniment. And so I just learned it from that. It's a hard city name to pronounce for non-Slavic people. Oh, okay. I guess I can see it. Takes a little bit of practice, but yeah. Anyway, speaking of things that can be hard to read. Well, you said pronounce, but it's my segue and I'm going to drive it off a cliff if I like. I'm going to carry on with the story. It uses letters in ways we don't. Yes. W's becoming V's. And yeah, the CL, well, because it's not just a straightforward L, is it? It's like an L with a line through it. I don't know the name for the letter, so I'm just going to describe it as an L with a line through it. So yeah, yes, it does do that. It's not something I've internalized. Like I wouldn't be able to carry that across to reading other like Polish words correctly. But I've learned that one. So that's cool. Right, anyway, as I was attempting to steer us on track, we're gonna carry on with the story, with tonight's story, which we've been doing for a while now, and it's August. Chat, do we reckon we can finish this before the end of the year, and free Lucy from short stories? As you told Bloomers. Okay, W is like W, is W like in uwu. 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 Okay. Great. I'm going to read this now. It's just one chapter for tonight, so I've broken it into 2 parts. There will be a break in the middle, which will make it fun for everyone to try and continue from there afterwards. I am also how do I put this? Disappointed but not surprised to have to report that I'm not going to like necessarily attribute this solely to the author. I'm going to say our protagonist's attitudes towards women hasn't really changed that much. It's pretty cringe, not cool, and I guess just be advised, I'm expecting there will be a couple of bits that I read and I will suddenly see chat light up as a whole bunch of people process like, wait, what? And then what you've read, you're fully willing to put that on the author. I'm hesitant with such things a lot of the time because, obviously the author writes the work, and so therefore it's impossible not to put your own views into things. But also, if we're going to attribute, this is a whole discussion that I'm actually not going to get into right now, because otherwise it will take another 10 minutes and we'll just never get to the story. You understand the benefit of the doubt that doesn't seem to be warranted in this case. I'm just trying to think I don't know. Actually, I don't know myself much about Hodgson's own personal attitudes towards women and relationships and how that should be, how that should shape. To just address it, in a previous chapter, your protagonist whipped this woman's hand because she was only eating half of the food that he was giving her to try and ration out the food for longer so that they would have more to get home. And he whipped her hand for this so badly that it hurt. And she was like sat there holding it, crying. So, and I don't know if Hodgson himself is someone who would think, yes, that's a good and right way to treat women, or if he just thinks, yeah, this is probably the kind of character that would do that. And without myself knowing, like, obviously there's the time in which he was writing, yeah, sure, but I am hesitant to say you wrote this character, therefore you agree with everything they say and do, because there's a lot of characters in a book, and you know, we do the thing of, this author said this quote, and like, well, if we're going to attribute the good stuff to the author, then we should attribute the bad stuff, I suppose, and you don't just get to like pick and choose which ones are representative of them and which ones aren't. And so, has any other part of the story given you a shred of evidence that this character is in any way supposed to be flawed? No. But again, I think he is writing a particular character type, and someone from a time period that is not his own. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, the fact that he whips her hand, that to me is something I read as a character flaw. Like, that is something that I read as not cool to do. I don't know whether I'm expected to read that. You think the character thinks he's amazing, but you're not sure he actually is. Yeah, yeah. As I say, I wasn't intending to have a lengthy conversation about this, and yeah, it may well be that Hodgson himself thinks this guy is really cool and awesome and how everyone should be, but I don't know. Like, genuinely, I don't know. And so because of that, I wouldn't want to assume that that's what he thought. Like, he is someone who, as I understand it, like from the little that I do know of him, and I've talked about this before, in his time on, like, serving on ships and stuff like that, because he was quite small, and he got picked on, he got like physically bullied and stuff. And so that was where he decided to bulk up and get shredded and make sure that no one beat him up again. Which is, I suppose, kind of what this guy is like, because he keeps going on about how like big and strong and tough and cool and strong and tough he is. But I don't know whether someone who has himself been like roughed up pretty badly, supposedly, in the past, would think, yes, that's also how you should treat people. Like, I don't think we're meant to look on this guy and think, wow, he sucks. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's a complicated one that lends itself to a lot more discussion than we have time for right now. You don't think you'd see it as mistreatment? Yeah, like, I'm just gonna have to keep saying I don't know, like, without without just basically not reading the story, and then right now diving down a bit of a research hole about him and his attitudes towards things to try and find whatever I could. Yeah, I really don't know how to discuss it further. So instead of that, I'm going to start reading. So, your text is linked at the top of chat. And we are going from chapter 11. I have also included like the starting line of the chapter, because I know in the text it's Roman numerals, and trying to find XI is a pain. And I apologise for the Gutenberg copy not having like linked chapters, but that's just how that be. So, if you're ready, I'm going to start reading, because we do have a bit to get through, and I don't want to be going still at like 12. So, I'm going to carry on. If we are ready and seated comfortably, then let us continue with The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. Chapter 11. The Homeward Way. Now, truly, it did seem very light, after the horrid and lonesome gloom that did lie always in the bottom of the olden sea, and I saw that I was come out upon a part of the land that did be surely to the right of that place where I made entry into the seabed on mine outward going. And there did be a great plenty of fire-holes, so that mine heart was warmed to see them. Yet did I mind to be wary in coming unto them, for, as you do know, there did so oft be life of this kind and that about these fires. And I looked now down to the maid, and she upward to me, and did come more anigh to me, and truly she did be most wondrous pretty and sweet, yet did seem very awearied and pale in the face, so that I made blame upon myself that I had overwalked her. For, in verity, I do think that I was so strong and hard as that I had been made from iron, and she but a dear and tender maid. Yet did she refuse that I should so reproach myself, and did but stand anigh to me, and look at me with eyes that were very beautiful. And so I put mine arms about her, and kissed her, and afterward looked again over the land, that I should hope that I should shape out our further journeying. And from that place where I did stand, there spread out all before me the blue shining that I had seen from the mouth part of the upward gorge. Yet did it be a great way off. And, indeed, I should tell you in this place that it was by the glimmering of this shine within the sky of the night that I had steered, as we did come across the olden seabed. And, truly, it was but a broad thing to go toward, but yet did serve me, in that it told me that I went toward the far side of the seabed, and made not to go all about in blind circles in the night. And after that I had considered a while, I did know somewhat where the gorge should be, and perceived that I should go unto my left, but not overmuch, for indeed I saw the red shining of the giant's hole that lay at a great space that way. And surely I must go so that I missed the place of the giants so much as I might, and in the same going come not over near unto the blue shining that lay before me across all the far part of the country. For, in verity, I mistrusted the place where that shining did be. Now when I had gained somewhat of knowledge where should be found the mouth of the upward gorge, I put mine arm about the maid, where she did stand so nigh to me, and very hushed, the while that I had looked about. And I pointed outward over the dark land unto my left, and told her that the gorge did be somewhere that way, a great distance off, yet utter out of my sight, and only to be known that it did be somewise there by the things that I did mind of, concerning my way after I came into the land. Now the maid, having stood very quiet, had looked all that time about her, and so had come to some knowledge of the place where she did be in the land, for she to know the land some ways, as you shall think. And she asked me how I did mind to go. And truly I said, so straight as we might, but yet so that we come neither too nigh to the shining, nor to the great red fire pit of the giants. And the maid bade me to look in the way that I did mind to go. And I looked, but yet there was nothing save, as they did seem, certain fire-holes that had a green shining about them. And she set out unto me then, how that there did go a tract of bad gas in that part of the land, that should be utter poisonous unto any, and this had been well known in the lesser redoubt, by the reading of their instruments. And where the gas did go, there was a green shining about the fire-holes. And she showed me how that the place of the gas went a great way unto the northwest, so that I learned now somewhat how the land did lie, as we do say in these days. And it was in all the northwest that the great blue shining did burn. And I asked Nanny how they named this, and she told me by no name save but the Shine. And mine own made very earnest to warn me regarding the Shine, and urged that we go no more thatwards than should be needful to our lives, the which indeed was no wish of mine. And her reason to be that the fixed giants did be within the borders of the Shine, and all hid in the light thereof, save when the burning mist did roll this way or that. And I took a great heed of this thing, and did guess that these fixed giants were somewhat even as the great watchers that were about the mighty pyramid, as you do know. And immediately I minded me of that utter monstrous face that I did see amid the bright smoke of the Shine, when that I came first into the land. And surely this had been one of the fixed giants that Nani told me were forces of great and very horrid evil. And I asked mine own how far the place of the gas went across the land, and she pointed and made further explaining. And in verity, in the end, I saw not how I should come that way to the mouth of the gorge, if that I would keep offwards from the Shine. Yet in a moment Nani asked me how I did come across the land, when that I searched for her. And truly, as I showed her, I had walked then by a sweet chance, or guiding, alway upon the far side of the place of the gas, and so unto the olden seabed, and was in this way come free of the gas, and all unknowing of it. And at this telling, the maid said that we go downward again into the bed of the olden sea, and walk some great hours below the shore, but in the way that should take us unto the southwest, and so until we were come beyond the place of the gas, and afterward up again into the land, and then to have an utter caution that we escape the watching of the giants who did be ever about the great red fire-hole, and by this plan very speedy to the entering part of the upward gorge. And truly, this did be very good and sound, and such as I should have planned in a moment. For indeed I am not over slow in such matters, only the maid did be very eager and quick, and it was very sweet to me that she should thus plan. For, in verity, I loved alway the sounding of her voice, and to hear her have speech, and to plan and think, and so to show me the workings of her inward self, and her dear qualities and human niceness, and to have part and lot alway with me in all things and thinking. And we shaped to this plan that Nani made, but at the time, as you do mind, it was somewhat of 17 hours since last we had slumber, and the maid was sore wearied, as I did see, and I showed to her how that it did be wise that we have our rest very soon, and so forward again in new strength and ability. And the maid did soon agree with me, for indeed she was very weary, and we made it that we should venture unto one of the fire-holes that lay no great seeming away, a little upon our right, which was the northward way of the land. And we went toward the fire-hole, and truly it did be further off than we had thought, for it was a good hour before we came anigh to it. And, indeed, it to prove a very great and red-glowing shine that went upward into the night, out of the hollow place where it did burn among rocks. And when we were come near unto it, I made a sign to the maid that she be utter hushed, and I took the discus from mine hip, and went forward before her, and afterward to my knees and hands, and beckoned backward to mine own, that she do likewise. And we came this way to the edge of the hollow place where the fire-hole did burn, and so were able in the end to look downward, and truly it was a great fire that burned in the earth in that place. Yet, as I perceived very swift, there did seem nowhere any monstrous thing about the fire, the which set some peace upon mine heart, but yet not overmuch, for it was come fresh upon me that we did well to stay afar off from the fires of the land, in that it was about the fires that all living things did congregate. And I looked a great time, and the maid crept unto mine elbow, and looked with me. And afterward we harked very keen into the night, but there was nowhere any trouble of the air or of the aether of the land. Yet I spoke quiet with the maid, and showed unto her how that we did well to stay offward from the fires. But truly she was so utter cold and chill that she did beg that we go down by the fire-hole, even should it be that we stay no more there than should put a warmth through the utter chill of our bodies. And, in verity, I was so bitter cold that I was all weak to go beside the fire. Yet, truly, I do think that the shiverings of the maid was that which did force my heart to go against the teachings of my head, so that, in the end, we came down into the hollow, and very swift unto the fire. Now, truly, it doth seem a strange thing to be so diverse-minded as this, when that, as you do know, I had been so long a search for a fire-pit. And mayhaps you shall perceive the better how my heart and brain did be contrary, when that I tell to you now how that I have belief that my spirit did even then be subtly set to warn me. And also, as all do know, it doth be easy to forget this warning and that of experience, by which saying I do mean that, oft as I had come to know the dangers that did be alway about the fire-holes, yet when I did be far off from them, and mine own broken and a shiver with the chill of the land, the danger did seem but a small thing, and afar off from my mind, and unreal, but the cold to be doubly real. Yet when we did come even unto the fire-hole, then did come again all about my heart the truth of those dangers that had seemed but a while gone, so little. And indeed I do hope you perceive me in this thing, and how that I strive alway to set unto you the utter truth, so that you shall go with me all the way, and lend me your nice understanding. Now, when we were come down unto the fire-pit, I went this way and that among the rocks that did be in the bottom of the hollow, so that I should perceive whether there did be any living creature there hid, that should mayhap come out unknown to work us harm. But indeed I discovered nothing of any greatness, yet saw 3 snakes, and there were beside 2 scorpion creatures, as I did name them, that neither went backward from me, nor came against me, but did bide where I saw them, each in a hole of the rock. And because I had seen these things, I saw that we should not do wise to sleep nigh unto the fire-hole, for the creeping things did mortally like the heat, and should be like to come upon us in our slumber. And indeed this did but uphold my caution, that we should be well actioned, if that we chose some other part to our rest. Yet, as you shall suppose, I said naught unto the maid concerning the creeping and the poisonous things, for I did mean that she have rest and happiness the while that we did stay beside the fire-hole, and afterward I should tell her, and so she be the more ready to see the properness that we go elsewhere to our sleep. But, as you to understand, if that she not to see wisely and be still intent to the fire-hole, I should have her to obey. For surely she was mine own, and I did love her, and did mean alway to have her to safety. Now, presently, the maid was something warmed, and afterward she slipped the scrip from my shoulder, and so had food and drink very swift to my need. And we sat together, and eat and drank, and the maid very sweet and quiet as she did begin to eat her second tablet. And truly I had knowing that she did remember in all her body that I had whipped her, and indeed she did be utter mine. And oft as we did eat and drink, I looked this way and that, so that no creeping thing should come anigh to us. And presently, when we had made an end of our food, the maid saw that I did look about, and she then very swift to catch some of mine unease, and to stare over her shoulder. And, indeed, in a little while she saw a snake go among the rocks, and she then to be very eager that we find some place that should be secure from creeping things, and we to begin then to look for such. But in the end we stayed in the hollow, for we found a little cave that did be in an upstanding rock of the hollow, and the upstanding rock was, mayhaps, 100 good feet off from the fire, for the hollow was very great. And the cave did be a hole that was thrice my height up from the bottom rocks, and it was dry and sweet with no creeping thing within it, neither did there be any place to hide such therein. And when we were gotten into the hole, surely it did be very sweet and cosy, for the shine of the fire-hole did shine therein, and surely we had felt it a very haven, but that there was ever the fear of the land upon our hearts, and upon mine the more than upon the maid, for truly mine own did seem to trust me utter, and to seem that she feared not any evil monster, but to have surety that I had power to succour her in all ways. And truly this trust had been very sweet unto my heart, if that I had lacked somewhat of my terror for the safe home-going of mine own. And we slept that night, as we had done before, and shared the cloak over us, for truly the fire-hole made no great warmth unto us, yet was it less bitter in that part than in the darkness of the land. And by that we had come unto sleep, it was 20 good hours since last we had slumber, and truly we did be very wearied, but yet came unto our rest, with our spirits set anxious to hearken on danger the while that we did sleep. And we slept 7 hours, and did know suddenly of some matter that had need to waken us. And lo, in a moment I did wake, and the maid in the same instant of time, and there was a great screaming and crying out in the night, that surely affrighted us both, yet did hurt our hearts the more, for it did be the utter cryings and terror of poor humans in the night of that land. Yet might I do naught, but only wait that I learn more of the matter, for my duty was unto mine own, and I had no leave of rashness any more. Yet, as you do suppose, I was all shaken to go downward of the rock, and afterward to climb out from the hollow, that I should give some help unto they that did need help, but yet might I not leave the maid. And immediately there was a great roaring in one part of the night, and again another roaring in another part of the night, and lo, in a moment the roarings did be answered, and the roarings were the sounds of big and husky voices, so that it did seem that we harks to men so big as houses, that did run and shout in the night. And the maid did begin to shake, and I put mine arm about her, and drew her backward into the hole, so that she did be into the shadow, and she to tremble like one that was broken in courage, for truly she had heard those sounds oft in the night, in all the long and dreadful month that she had wandered. And indeed, I was all shaken in my courage, for it did be the shouting of giants that I heard, and you do know somewhat of the utter horror and terror that did be alway in the heart that did hearken unto those monstrous voices, for you do know my tale. And there came in a moment the dreadful screaming out in the night, and the screaming did be the screaming of a young maid that doth be slain very brutal. And my heart sickened because of mine own, but my spirit did swell with a strange and utter anger, as that it should burst my body, and the maid to my side broke into an utter sobbing. And the screaming of the maid afar off in the dark did end very sudden, but in a moment there did be other screamings in divers places, and the hoarse shoutings of the great men, and the thudding of mighty feet that ran this way and that a chase. And the cryings of the humans came nearer, and the thuddings of the great feet, and, in verity, in a little minute it did seem unto me that the sounds did be right upon the hollow, and I crept forward and peered out, and I felt the night to be full of people running, And immediately there passed by the hollow a clustering of humans that ran ever, and screamed and gasped and wept, panting as they ran. And the shining of the fire-hole made them plain seen and clear, and they did be both men and women, and were but in rags or utter naked, and all torn by the rocks and the bushes, and did seem, indeed, as that they had been wild things that did go by so swift and lost. And mine heart troubled me with the pain and longing that it did know, so that I had gone in a moment after those people, but that I should leave mine own and put her to peril. And even while that I felt so utter in this thing, there came a great thudding of monstrous feet, and there ran 4 great men out of the night, and went past the hollow very quick. And 3 did be dull-coloured, and seeming much haired and brutish, but the other did be a horrid white, and livid blotched, so that it did seem to my spirit that there went by a thing that did be a very man-monster, filled of unwholesome life. And surely they did be gone from out of the shine of the fire in one moment, as we do say, and again into the night to their dreadful chasing. And when the thudding of their feet had gone a long way off over the land, I heard them bellowing, and afterward a far-away screaming that did have a death note in it, and I knew that those dreadful brute men did be taking the life of some poor wild humans, and afterward there did be silence again. And, surely, it did come to me with a fierce impatience of sorrow that those people did be without spirit of courage, else had they turned them upon the giants and slain them with their hands, even if that all had died to compass that slaying. For truly they should all die anywise by the giant men, and they had died then with somewhat to comfort their hate. Yet, as I do know, the peoples of the Lesser Redoubt had long been born of parents that were starved of the earth current through 100,000 years and more, and because of this thing they did surely lack somewhat in all ways, yet was none otherwise. But this not to prove aught, save the rule, as we do say. Now, sudden, as I stooped very hushed and troubled in the mouth of the little cave, I knew that mine own sobbed dryly in the back part of the cave, and I had gone to comfort her, but that in the same moment I saw a naked maid run very swift over the edge of the hollow, and did look over her shoulder as she ran. And she came to the bottom, and crept in under a ledge of rock that did be in that place, and she did seem utter worn, and gone of the spirit, and desperate. And I perceived in the same instant why that she did go stealthy and swift in that fashion, and to cower as for her very life. For there came a squat, haired man, so broad as a bullock, who did come silent down into the hollow, looking this way and that, even as a wild beast doth peer, very sudden. And the squat man had instant knowing of the place where the maid did be, and ran in upon her with no sound. And I paused not, but leaped all the great way unto the bottom of the hollow, which did be mayhaps 20 good feet and more, for mine anger was upon me, and I did mean that I save that one, though I did be powerless to give succour unto those others. And I fell strong upon my feet, and had no harm of my limbs, for all that the leap did be so high. And in that moment, before that I had time to save the maid, the squat man ripped her, and she cried out once with a very dreadful scream, and was suddenly dead in the hands of the brute man. And my heart made my blood to burn with wrath in mine eyes, so that I had scarce power in that instant to see the squat man as I ran upon him, and the roar of the discos filled all the hollow as I made it to spin, as that it did rage with an anger, and to be glut of the man. And the man came round upon me, and thought, mayhaps, to deal with me as it had dealt with that poor maid, but not all that wise, as you must know. And I swung the discos, and it did seem to sing and to cry in my hands, and I smote at the squat man, even as it did leap silent upon me, as a tiger doth leap, making no sound. But I gat not home the blow, for the man dropped sudden down upon the hands, and the blow went overwards, and the brute man caught me by the legs to rip me, and I cut quick with the discus, and it did have but one monstrous talon left unto it, and immediately it cast me with the other half across the hollow, and I fell with mine armour clanging mightily, and the discus did ring like a bell. And by the graciousness of all good things I was harmed not by that monster throw, but was to my feet in one instant, and had not loosed the discus from my hand. And the beast-man did be upon me with 2 quick boundings, and I stood up to the man, and it made no sound or cry as it came at me. And there did a great froth of brute anger and intent come from the mouth of it, and the teeth came down on each side of the mouth, very great and sharp. And I leaped and smote, so that my blow should come the more speedy, and the discus took away the head and the shoulder of the squat man, and the dead thing knocked me backward, with the spring that it had made, but it harmed me not greatly. Yet afterward I did know how sore and bruised I did be in all my body and being, and I came back very swift against the man, but it did be truly dead, and greatly horrid. And I went from the dead monster, and did go, all heart shaken, unto the dead maid. And I took the torn body of the maid, very sorrowful, and cast it into the fire-hole. And I turned me then that I should look unto the cave, that I should know that all did be well with mine own, and whether she did have seen the horror, or be gone into a swoon. And lo, mine own did run toward me. She had in her hand my belt-knife, which I did give her, before that time, to be a weapon for her defence. And I perceived that she had come to be mine aid, if that I did need such. And she did be utter pale, yet very steadfast, and not seeming to tremble. And I made to take her from that place, but she went beyond me, and looked at the monstrous bulk of the squat man, and was very silent. And she came back unto me, and still so silent. And she stood before me, and said no word. But my heart knew that she did be thinking, for I am not foolish, to have lacked to know what did be in her heart. Though mine effort had not shown itself that way unto me before that moment. And I had no pretending of modesty, but received with gladness and a strangeness of humbleness the honour that her eyes did give to me. For, indeed, she did be so, that she might not give word to her joy of me and her glad respecting, the which is so wondrous good unto the heart of all men that do be loving of a dear and honest maid. And she said nothing, neither then nor afterward, but I did be honoured all my life after, when that I did any time mind me of the way that mine own looked upward at me in those moments. And afterward she did need to allow herself to come unto mine arms, that I hold her from the trembling of heart which did come to her. After that there did be no need for courage, for surely we had both seen a very dreadful thing, and there was a great horror upon us. And I climbed upward again to the little cave, and did help Nanny, and when we were come there again we did rest a while. And presently we eat, each of us, 2 of the tablets, and drank some of the water, and indeed we were both utter thirsty. And in about an hour, after that we had harked very keen a time, we came downward again from the cave, and had our gear with us, and we came up out of the hollow, and set forward with a great caution unto the olden sea-bed. And we came there in 2 long hours, for we went very slow and with constant harkings, for the fear of the monstrous men was upon us. But there came no harm anigh, neither did we perceive any disturbance in the night of the land. And we went down an hour into the olden sea-bed, and did go now the more swift, for our fear was something eased from us, because that we had come away from the place where we had perceived so great and dread a hunting. But yet had we all care about us, for the giants surely to be everywhere in that land. But yet, as I do think, they to roam more oft anigh to the fire-holes. For the humans did surely wander in such parts, that they have warmth from the fires. And after we had gone downward an hour into the seabed, we turned somewhat unto the southwest, and went for 12 great hours, and did never be any huge space from the shore, for it did run that way, as you do know. And I made to steer by the shinings of the land, and with advices from mine own. And in the end of the 12th hour I did count our distance, making that we did walk somewhat of a certain speed, and by the tellings of the maid we did be surely come beyond the place of the land where the poison gas did lie. And by this it did be something after 17 hours since we did sleep. And surely we did be very ready to have rest, for we had gone forward strongly, and with anxiousness, and truly my hurt did be come upon me, so that my whole body did ache, for the quick fight had been bitter, and I had been thrown very hard and brutal, and indeed it was wondrous that I had not been all smashed, only that the armour did save me. And this doth show truly how hard and strong I did be. And Nani did speak upon this, and was oft a wonder, and at that time did beg me that I make some rest to cure my hurts, for she had not conceived that a man did grow so strong and hardy, and in verity the men of the lesser redoubt did be soft-made, and lacking of grimness, as I did perceive, both through my reason and from her tellings, for they did lack the strong life that doth breed when there is the beat of the earth-current, as we to have in the mighty pyramid. And this thing I have said somewise before this time. And because that we did be so wearied, I said unto Nani that we find a place for our slumber, and she very willing, as I have shown, and to counsel me likewise. Yet did we search about in that gloom for a great hour more, and found no cave or hole to give us a safe refuge for our sleep. And when that we could not find such, I told Nani that we should put the boulders together somewhat, and so have them about us that we be greatly hid. And, in truth, even as I began to tell her my plan, she did have the same words in her mouth, so that we caught our little fingers there in the dark of that grim land in the end of the world, even as she and I had done oft in the early years, before that eternity, when that she did be Mirdath the Beautiful. And we did both be silent, and after that we had wished very solemn and earnest, we said each a name, even as lad and maid shall do in this age, and so to laughter, and kissed one the other. And truly the world doth seem not to alter in the heart, as you shall think. And this was what I did find. The car alarm is coming. It's not in the story. That's just from outside, because I've got my windows open, if you can hear it. And we set to, and gathered together the boulders which did be very plentiful in that part, and she to carry those that did be thin and flat, and I to roll those that did be great and round, and I made a place that did be long and narrow, and afterward I set the flat stones round the sides, that there be no little hole by which any creeping thing should come inward to sting us in our sleep. And afterward we gat inside, and surely it did be very cosy, as we do say, but yet not so secure as I did wish, only that I could not shift to plan aught better. And indeed it should keep off from us any small thing, and should be like to save us from any monstrous brute treading upon us, but otherwise it did be but a poor affair. Now we eat 2 of the tablets, and drank some of the water, even as we had done in the 6th and 12th hours, and afterward we shared the cloak for our slumber, and we kissed very sedate and loving, and charged our spirits that we wake if that any horrid thing should come anigh to us in our sleep. And afterward we did be gone very swift to slumbering, and suffered no harm. And I waked 7 hours after, and surely I did ache very bitter as I did move my body, for the bruisings did be gotten hold of me. And I slipped away from the maid, very gentle, for I had mind that she sleep a while more, as I did mean that we make a great journey that day. And after I had harked a while, and perceived that there was no evil thing anigh, I went outward of the stones, and I walked to and fro, and moved mine arms, that I be eased somewhat of the stiffness and ache. But surely it did seem that many hours must go ere that I should make any speed of travel. For I did be all clumsy and slow, and nigh to groan with the pain of going, and aught that I did. And I minded me that I should do somewhat to ease this thing, lest that I cause us both to come to any harm, by staying over long in that land. And I went back into the stones, and gat an ointment from the pouch that I did carry. And surely the maid did yet sleep. And I went outward of the stones again, and stripped off mine armour and all my garments, and I rubbed my body with the ointment. And surely the pain did be so that I groaned at this time and that. But yet must I rub good and strong, so that I die not of the cold of the land. And beside, I was greatly anxious to cure myself. And sudden, as I did rub very strong and savage, and heeding so well as I might that I not groan, the maid did speak close beside me. And indeed she could see me but dimly, and had waked sudden to hear my groaning, and I was not to her side. And immediately she had thought that some evil thing harmed me, and was come in an instant that she be with me. And she cared not that I did be naked, but was utter in anger that I strove to do this thing alone, and with none to aid me, and all uncovered in the chill of the land. And she ran back into the stones, and brought the cloak and put it about me, and was so angered that she stamped, and had no impudence, but rather as that she did be minded to have tears. And she sent me back into the sheltering of the stones, and gathered mine armour, and brought these things after me. But the discos I took in my hand, and she took the pot of the ointment from me, and made me to lie, and she rubbed me very strong and tender, and kept me warm with the cloak. And surely she was a wise and lovely maid, and utter mine own. And in the end she asked me how I was, and I said that I did be different, and she hurried me that I be clothed very quick, for she did be sore afraid that I should come to a chill. And when I was gotten again into mine armour, she came to me, and showed me where I did lack wisdom, and spoke very straightly, and gentle and serious, and afterward kissed me, and gave me my tablets, and to sit beside me, and we eat and drank, and I with a new lovingness unto mine own, and she somewhat as that she did mother me. But when I put mine arm about her, she did be only a maid, and we did be thus, but with but little talk and a great content. And afterward we gat our gear together, and went from that little refuge that we had made, and in a while we did go upward out of the olden seabed. And when we were come again to the top of the shore, the which we did in 2 good hours, I looked over the land a time with mine own anigh to me, and I perceived that the great red fire pit of the giants did be no mighty way off unto the south and west. And surely in a little moment we saw that there went monstrous figures against the shine of the mighty fire pit, and we stooped unto the earth, for it did seem that the light did be like to show us standing there, though truly we did be afar off, as you perceive. Yet mayhaps you do share with us the utter horror and distress that those horrid men did cast about the heart, and so have a kindly understanding of our fear. And over all the land, in this place and that, there did be the small shining of little fire holes and pits, that did be alway red, save in that part where the poison gas did lie, the which we had now come safe past. And beyond the fire holes was the great shine that lay from the west unto the north of all that land. And in verity we did need that we steer so that we come not anigh to it, neither unto the great red fire pit of the giants, neither unto the low volcanoes, which were beyond the great red fire pit, as you do know, and some ways unto the mouth of the upward gorge. And the way of our journey was between the west and the southwest of that land, and to be made with cunning and wisdom, that become clear of all unseemly danger unto mine own. And I asked her concerning this thing and that of the land, and surely she told me so much of terror that I was half in a wonder that ever I did live in the end to come unto her. And it was because of the things that she set out to me that I perceived how we must come nowise anigh to the low volcanoes that were upon this side of the mouth of the upward gorge, for it had been known alway in the lesser redoubt that there went very horrid men in that part that did be called wolf-men. But whether there did be any such thing in that age, she had no knowing, for she told me the things that did be set down in the records and the histories, and truly no man of the lesser redoubt had found a heart in 1,000 great years to make a journeying through the land, or the desire of glad and dreadful adventuring, such as our young men did be oft set to, though it was not all such that went. And because there did be no adventuring for so monstrous a space of years, there was no certain new knowledge of the land of that age. And this thing is plain to you, and needing not of many words, which do so irk me. And Nani set out to me how that the Shine was conceived to be a land where evil did live for ever, and whence came all those forces of evil that did work upon the lesser refuge. And afterward she did quiet, so that presently I perceived that she did weep to herself, because that her memory was all new stirred by my questionings. And I took her very gentle into mine arms, and we did be there kneeled upon the earth. And after that time I asked her no question, save that it did be needful to our health and life. Yet oft did she tell me this thing and that of her knowledge, to be for mine help and guiding. Now we went forward, going a space toward the northwest, so that we come the more clear of the place where did be the great red fire pit of the giants. And we journeyed with a care alway, that we show not ourselves over plain unto the light that shone from the land, over the land from the great pit. And oft we did creep a while over this stark place and that, and went nimbly amid the bushes that grew, amid the bushes that grew oft in great parts. And we made 6 hours this way, and did then have pause, that we eat and drink. And truly it was 9 hours since first I did wake, yet had we made no pausing, because that we were so set to our journeying to come clear of the place where did be the giants. And after that we had eaten and drunk, we went onward again, and made now unto the southwest, for we did heed that we go no more unto the northwest, because that should bring us over near to the Shine. And in the 14th hour of that day's travel we came to a part where the land dipped downward into a broad valley, and surely it did be very dark down there, and did be seeming shallow, yet truly of a great deepness. But we went that way, because that it did be a weary long journey to go around the place where the valley did be. And the valley had a different darkness from the gloom that went alway in the olden seabed. For the gloom of the seabed did be ever of a greyness, but the gloom of the valley had a greater dark within it, yet did the air seem more clear. And we went downward 3 hours into the valley, and stopped then that we eat and drink, and truly I had not paused then, but that mine own did insist, for our methods did be like, else to go all adrift, and we to be lacking of proper strength. And this was wisdom of the maid, but I to be a little irked like and restless, and this mayhap because that my blood did itch me, because that it did be so full of the poison of my bruises. And it was gone now of 17 hours since last we did sleep, but yet did we be ready to go forward, that we come so quick as may be out of the dark of that valley. For there did seem nowheres any fire hole to make a light, only that in this place and that there did be a little blue shining, as that there burned a strange gas in this part or that. And that is where we're going to take a break. So, yeah, I enjoyed his comment. And this thing is plain to you and not needing of many words, which do so irk me. I have underlined that in pencil and written, really? Because this does not strike me as someone who doesn't love words. This is someone who really loves to talk. Also, I'm not entirely sure what to make of his comment about he uses many words as possible. Yep. His comment about where all the people who were being killed, and he's like, and surely it did come to me with a fierce impatience of sorrow that those people did be without spirit of courage, else had they turned them upon the giants and slain them with their hands, even if that all had died to compass that slaying. For truly they should all die anywise by the giant men, and had they died then with somewhat, and they had died then with somewhat to comfort their hate. Like, it's just sitting there watching them. He won't go out and do anything because he has to protect his own, and he won't do anything to like risk her or put her in jeopardy. Which, you know, yeah, we can discuss that at length. But he's just there watching, like, well, clearly you're all scrubs and losers because you didn't turn and fight. There are uncomfortable undertones through this section regarding other types of people. What, like as in how he's classifying the people of the two different redoubts. The people from his one had the earth current, and so were like strong and fit and healthy and hale and hearty and other such words beginning with H, and capable of being big, strong, cool, tough, and tall as well, tough guys that could fight anything. And the people from the other sanctuary without the earth current were just kind of scrawny, weedy nerds who couldn't put up a fight and don't know anything. Also the wild monster men. Yeah, that's another one where I'm like, I don't know if we're meant to read sort of that this is comments on, I guess what I would say, this isn't like that Tolkien is innocent of this, but I wouldn't sort of level anything at this you wouldn't also level at Tolkien, where, like, you know, all orcs are evil. Just like every one of this particular species is evil, and every one of this particular species is kind of noble and good. I guess categorizing types of people. I don't know. Yeah, like you don't think it would have been conscious allegory, just the habit of categorizing people? Yeah, like. Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, my first thing would be like, I don't know how hard he was thinking about that. Very early 20th century. Yeah, like I think it would just probably be there are monsters in this land. That's it. Not monsters who are representative of people or cultures or races or anything like that, but just that there's monsters, and instead of like lions and tigers and bears or dinosaurs or other things, there's also like people who are like big giant men, and I wouldn't imagine it goes further beyond that. But yeah, it's also early 20th century. You know, Lovecraft was a contemporary, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like, again, for me, it's one that it's difficult to ascribe views to the author without having more information about what the author thought. Like, taking Lovecraft as an example, it was very clear what he thought about people and races and things, and so I think it's easier to like take that as a layer and stretch it over his work and go, yep, this all tracks. You can still judge what they wrote. Yes, yeah, you can judge what they wrote, but when it comes to, yeah, I don't know. Again, I think it's one that is is a far bigger discussion than we have time for here. I mean, we could probably chat about it on the Discord, I guess. But for now, I'm gonna go to a break because I want to stand up and move around and stretch and stuff and try and unhurt my neck. So I will see you back here in about 5 minutes. Bye for now. And we are back. Hello, welcome back. I hope that it was a good and fulfilling break for everybody. I got up, I moved around, I stretched a little bit and attempted to sort of crick my neck. So that was cool. I got distracted. Sharkhawk, hello. Good evening, Sexy Dracula's aficionados. Yeah, that's right. We've got, yep, lots of Sexy Draculas in this one. Not a guy who has like a protagonist who thinks he's cool. Yeah, no Sexy Draculas in this one, and none of them are playing flute. But how instead would you take a guy who is like super possessive of his slightly, and it's going to get worse, infantilized girlfriend who he's just wandered across a sort of sun-forsaken, blasted hellscape to find and rescue. And, you know, so that he can save her and protect her and bring her back home, but also so that he can, like, whip her hand if she does anything that he doesn't like. You want to know how she lasted as long as she did from her own? Yeah, can we have this story told from her perspective? Where, like, you know, he shows up and she's like, okay, fine, someone's here. And slowly she just realizes, oh no, this guy's an asshole. And like as soon as they get back to safety, she's like, peace, and just checks out. Like, thanks, like, you got me back here. Also, like, showing him the back of her hand. She's like, yeah, you did this, buddy. Like, I don't want to know where this goes. I'm out. Goodbye. That's... Yeah, she apparently like lasted a month on her own, and according to his description, she was pretty, you know, worse for wear when he found her. But who can we trust, you know? Yeah, this guy's not great. Also, there is, I don't know where, but absolutely something in the vicinity that is on fire, because I can smell like bonfire smoke coming in through the window, and it's not unpleasant, but a little concerning. You know, as fire tends to be. But there's no fire engines going, so presumably everything's safe and fine and good. And no one's in any immediate harm. Weren't we getting wildfire warnings recently? We were, but not for this. If a wildfire is near me, not going to dox myself, but if there's a wildfire near me, that would be quite the problem. Yeah, there were wildfire warnings, but I would be very surprised if one reached this far to where I am. So I think it's more likely just that someone on like a nearby estate's having a bonfire, or maybe some sort of late night barbecue. It doesn't smell particularly foody. They wouldn't get me first, is what. Yeah, exactly. There's there's a few layers of buildings to get through before you get to me. I've got time. Don't worry about that. There's no glow on the horizon. Yeah. Anyway. We should probably crack on with the story, because we're a little past halfway, I think. Yeah, we've got a slightly shorter section next, but oh boy, in a few pages there's going to be something that I know if you're listening you're going to pop off about, because I sure did. Yeah. Look forward to that. This is your test. If chat doesn't explode when there's two words that I will have to say, because they are, you know, what the author wrote, and I've decided I'm going to leave them in rather than like. Don't worry, it's not a slur. I'm not like. Yeah, I'm building it up, but also I just want to like just clarify it. Don't worry. The policy of not reading like slurs and things on this channel still holds. Not doing that. You live in a submarine? Congratulations. How's the Wi-Fi down there? I'm gonna read before any more inane comments come into chat. But yeah, look forward. There's I'm gonna Spotty. You just have like a really long wire running out the back. Right, where was I? I was there. Okay. Then I'm gonna continue. Good luck picking up from where we were. If you've like closed the tab and didn't catch what the last bit was, because there's absolutely no kind of marker or link to take you to where we were. I'm just gonna read. If we're ready, your text is still linked at the top of chat. And I shall continue with The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. Chapter 11, Part 2. Now, in 2 hours after the time that we did eat, we stopped, both of us, very sudden, for there did be some vague and curious sound in the night, and we went very swift to the earth, that we be hid, and harked, but did hear nothing. And in a while we to go onward again, yet there did be an unease upon our spirits, for our spirits did perceive something afar off in the night, but yet had we no surety in this matter. And we went forward through a great hour more, and did pass in that time 2 places where the blue shining did be. And truly it seemed as that a low gas hung to the earth in this part and that, and made a slow burning, having neither noise nor spurtings, but slow, as that it did smoulder, and be all to shine and luminous. And oft there did be a strong smelling of a bitter gas, very horrid to the throat. And in the end of another hour, while that we were a space off from one of those gas shinings, there went past us, at a distance as it did seem, people, running in the night, as that they did be lost spirits, yet with a rustling very soft, so that they did be like to be barefoot. And I thought, mayhap, that these did be some of the peoples of the lesser pyramid, yet did they be only as that shadows went among the blue shinings. And I pondered a moment, whether that I send my voice over the valley, to question what they did be, but yet had caution, and harked through the utter silence of the night, for I had no surety of aught. And, surely, in that moment that we harked very keen, there did be a sound afar off in the night of the land, and it was as that we had heard the sound before, and, in verity, our spirits had perceived the sound those 2 hours back, and now our bodies did what, and perceived that we had known it subtly before that moment. And the sound was as that something went spinning in the night. And a very great terror came upon the maid, for she did know the sound. And the sound was that which did show that one of the great evil forces of the land did approach, and the sound had been known alway in the lesser refuge to show this thing, and indeed mine own spirit had been half to know that a power of evil did come through the night, but yet was the assurance very terrible, for how should I protect mine own? And the spinning came toward us, and was presently in the valley. And it came very swiftly across the dark of the valley, and my heart was all broken within me, because that there had been happiness with us, but a little time gone, and now there did be our death anigh. And mine own gave me the knife that I had given to her, meaning that I slay her in the last moment, for she did heed even in that moment that she be not gashed horridly by the terror of the discus, and I took the knife, And I kissed not mine own, but stood there very shaken and desperate, and gripped her fast unto me, scarce heeding the hardness of my gripe. And alway I looked unto the way of the coming of the sound, and presently did unbear my wrist where the capsule did be. And the sound of the thing spinning came anigh across the valley, and my heart did dull, and my spirit go black with my desperateness, because that this thing must be, and because that I could nowhere see hope that I should save mine own. And, of a sudden, the maid put up her arms and pulled me downward, and kissed me once on the lips, but I wot not whether I kissed her, for I did burn with despair and was all adrift in my being, yet was there a sharp comfort that mine own dying did be so nigh. And the maid stood gently against me, so that she did be convenient unto my hand. And afterward I remembered this thing, and do you pray that you be never to have such a matter on your hearts. But indeed there was a wonder in this thing, beside the horror, so that my memory doth be alway knowing of this wonder, and mayhap you do see with me, and love mine own also in your hearts. And in the moment that the maid stood thus, as I have told, I perceived sudden that there did be a little glowing in the night, and the glowing was pale and horrid. And there was no more any sound of the spinning, only there did be, as it were, the trunk of a great tree that did show in the glowing, and the trunk of the tree came toward us across the darkness. And I turned the maid from the tree, and she did flutter a little in my hands, as I did know, scarce knowing, for she perceived that she did be going to die in that moment, and I had my body thus between the evil thing and the maid. And lo, the tree came no more anigh to us, but went backward, and the pale glowing did fade, and the tree no more to be seen. And I cried unto the maid, very husky, that we did live, for that the evil power was gone off from us. But she answered not, and did be heavy against me. And I held her, and looked alway about us, lest the tree come in upon the other side. And, as I looked this way and that, I saw naught. And afterward, in a moment, I searched the night above, lest that the thing come from above. And behold, I saw that there abode over us a clear light, as it were a clear burning circle, above us in the night. And my heart did leap with a holy joy and an utter great thankfulness, and I was no more in fear of the tree. For in verity there fought for our souls one of those sweet powers of goodness that did strive ever to stand between the forces of evil and the spirit of man, and this matter have I shown to you before this time. And concerning this holy defence, I have thought that it should not, mayhap, to have had so strong a power to save us, if that we had shown an over-weakness of fear, but because that we did rather stand so well as we might, to make battle of escape from so dire a destruction. And surely this doth seem but a sane thinking unto me, but yet without proof, and to be said to you only as the shapings of my thoughts. And this the chief end of that happening, and the holy circle did truly deliver us, for that the holy circle did truly deliver us, and burned through 12 great hours above us. And by this do I know that the evil power hovered anigh to destroy us all that while. For, indeed, it doth not be proper of reason to suppose that such an utter wondrous thing did be needlessly over us, save to be a shield of great and lovely force against a waiting evil thing. And surely you do see this wise with me. And truly, so soon as my spirit and reason perceived that we did be no more to suffer from the evil thing, I remembered that I did know that mine own had swooned. And in verity you shall mind how that she did face her death so utter sweet and brave, and had given no cry, but made quietly to help me in that dreadful moment, and did stand brave and gentle to the stroke. And so fell into a swoon, as you have seen, because that she did suffer 100 deaths, as she did stand so brave, waiting to be slain, for the blow did be so long delayed, yet to come in any moment. And I gat her to come to unto her life again, and I set the lovely tale very swift to ease her, and surely with love and warmth, and kissed her with a great joy. And I showed how I did honour her for her good courage. And she to weep a little, and with the ease come so sudden upon her, and afterward to kiss me upon the lips 100 times, and to need that she be very safe in mine arms, because that I had meant that I do so dread an office to her. And surely I do wonder whether you perceive that all did be then in her heart. And surely I do wonder whether you perceive all that did be then in her heart. I'm struggling with the text this half, apologies. And the holy light that did be over us, she did watch with a sweetness of awe, and rest did come more great upon her in the heart, as she did learn how sure was the seeming of that lovely power to deliver us. And presently we made forward again in the valley, and did go steadfast, and newly loving each to the other, and so through 12 great and body-weary hours. But our hearts could never be done singing within us, nor our hands to cease from the hands of the other, because that we did so crave each unto the beloved. And in the 9th hour, a monstrous way off in the dark of the valley, there did seem as that there went a far and dreadful screaming in the night. And it did be no, that's a cat hair in my mouth. And it did be as that our spirits perceived the sound of something spinning in the night, yet faint and a great way off, but yet had we no surety that we did truly hear the sound of the spinning. Only we did be so shaken in the heart, for truly there was some horror done unto humans, downward in the mighty darkness of the valley. And to think upon the sound of the spinning was to be in a shaking trouble of the spirit, and to bless the quiet and holy light that went above us in all that time, and to ache only that it should stay to be to our protecting. And surely it did be plain that there were the signs of great forces in that land. And 3 hours after that time, when we did hear the far-off screaming, we were come up over the edge of the valley, and did be once more unto such light as did be general in the land. And truly it did seem a wondrous lightness after so utter a dark. And we did be all exhaust, and mine own drew her feet so weary that it was as that she must go no more until we did rest. For indeed it was 33 hours since last we had slept, and a bitter trouble and work there had been in that space, as you do know. Now we had eat some of the tablets a few hours back, as we did walk, and had drunk some of the water, but had made no rest, for we did crave only that we come free of that valley, and now it was needful that we rest, if but a little time. And I minded that we find some place where I should have a hot pool, that I be able to bathe Nani's feet. And surely we came in a while to a hollow place, and there did be 2 dull-burning fire-holes in this place, and a hot bubbling spring, the which did seem to be a rare thing in that land, so that we were the more fortunate to perceive it. And I made mine own to sit, with her feet in the hot spring, for it was not over hot, and did seem pretty natural to my taste, as I did prove in the first. And also I did search about the hollow, lest there be any harmful creature near by, and this you will have truly supposed, because you do know the methods of my journeying. But yet did I not have so much care as did be proper, for I was so dull in the mind, by reason of my weariness. But indeed there came naught to work us any harm, and so we came to no suffering through mine aches and dullness. And I sat beside the maid, and made her to eat a tablet, and saw that the cloak did be nice about her, and her head to rest against my knee, and I laid the palm of my hand to be as a pillow, because of the armour, to ease the hardness. And I eat with the maid, and we both drank after, and so there came back somewhat of our strength. Then I took the maid's little feet, and rubbed a portion of the ointment from the pot all about them, very gentle and constant, and so did they be new rested and eased, and she presently fit again to the journey, for I was strong set that we go quickly hence out of that land, and stay no more there to sleep, lest we come unto destruction. And when we had rested an hour, I put the shoes again upon the maid, and made them secure, and so gat my gear about me, and made to the journey. And lo, as we did leave the hollow, I looked upward unto the holy light, and behold, it was gone from us. And by this thing I supposed that we had come free of instant danger, but yet did there be to me a seeming of nakedness and unprotection, as you must perceive. And because that the light was vanished, I was the more set that we come speedy out of the land. And we went forward at a strong speed, and had the great red fire pit of the giants to our rear and to the left, and a mighty way off in the night. But yet I did wish it the further. And before us was a small ridging up of the dark land, as I did judge, because that our view of the lights and the shinings was bounded. And to our left at a great way the low volcanoes, and somewhat to our right, across all that part of the land, went the cold and horrid glare of the shine. Now, in a little while, I felt that the ground did be sloped upward before us a little, and by this thing I saw that I had known aright, for there did be a ridge that hid the land somewise over unto the part where I looked to find the mouth of the upward gorge. And we went up this slope at a strong pace, because that I was so eager that I find where we did be in nearness unto the mouth of the upward gorge. And surely I was something forgetful in mine eagerness, and came somewhat ahead of mine own, who did make to hide from me that she did begin to lag, because that her new strength was near gone from her. And sudden there did be a very dreadful cry to my back, and I came round in one instant, so quick as a light doth flash, for it was the voice of mine own, and all my being did suddenly burn with fear that kindled through me in a moment of thought. And lo, mine own did struggle terribly with a yellow thing which I perceived to be a man with 4 arms, and the man had 2 arms about the maid, and with 2 did make to choke her unto death, for she cried out no more. And I came unto the man with a quick leaping, and stopped not to pluck the discos from my hip, and surely I did be very strong, and mine anger and rage to make me monstrous, for I caught the 2 upper arms of the man, and brought them backward in an instant, so fierce and savage, and so wrenched upon them, that I brake them in the shoulders of the man. And the man roared and shrieked, even as a wild and dreadful beast should cry out, and came round upon me with the 2 lower arms. And surely it was a mighty and brutish thing, and so broad and bulked as an ox, and the lower arms were huge and greatly haired, and the fingers of the hands did have the nails grown into horrid talons, as that they should grip very bitter. And it caught me by the thighs to rip me upwards, as I did fear, but yet this did not be the intent of the man, for in a moment it caught me round the body, and on the instant I gat the man by the great throat, and the throat did be haired, and so great as the neck of a bull. And I strove with mine armed hands that I choke the man, and surely I made it to suffer great trouble, yet I could not harm it in the life. And so I did be a horrid minute, and fought with the beast with no more than the strength of my body, and it was as that a human went with his hands to slay a monster so strong as a horse. And the breath of the man-beast came at me, and it did sicken me, and I held the face off from me, for I had died with horror, if that I had come more anigh, and surely the mouth of the man was small and shaped so that I knew that it did never eat of aught that it did slay, but to drink as a vampire. And in truth I did mean that I chop the man to pieces, if that I have chance to the discourse. Shyhawk Silliman, you got your Dracula. And I did sway this way and that, as we did struggle, and surely it was as that the man had never made to use the lower arms, save to hold unto prey, the while that it did use the upper arms to strangle, as I do think. For all that weary minute of the fight the man made not to loose from me, that it should tear my hands from their grip to the throat, but made vain waggings with the arms that I brake, as that it would use these to the attack, but surely they had no more power to do hurt. And sudden it put forth an utter power about my body, so that mine armour did be like to crack, and truly I had died in a moment, but for the strongness of the armour. And the man hugged me thus for a horrid time, the while that I did hold off from me the brutish face, and gripped very savage into the haired throat. And lo, the creature did work slow in the brain, and in the end loosed from me, abrupt, and went back with a leap, so that my hands did be ripped from the throat of the beast, and in one instant it did be back unto me, and gave me no moment to free the discus. But I made anew to fight, and shaped as I had learned in the exercises of mine upbringing, for truly I had been alway deep in practice of such matters, and I slipped from the great hands of the man, as it did try to take me by the head. And I hit the man with mine armoured fist, and put a great power and skill to the blow, and I went instant to the side with a swift stepping, and evaded the man, and I smote the man again, and took him very savage in the neck, but all the while grown very cold and brutal and cruel, for I was set to the slaying. And the man-beast came round on me, and lo, I slipped the gripe of my great hands, and my body and my legs and mine arms did work together unto that last blow, so that I did hit so hard as a great hammer. And I gat the beast in the throat, and the beast went backward to the earth, even as it did think to hold me. And lo, in a moment I was free, and I plucked forth the discus from my hip, and the yellow beast-man grunted upon the ground, and it rose up again to come at me, and it stood and did grunt, and did seem as that it was gone mazed, for it did make other sounds, and a horrid screeching, so that truly by the way of it I conceived that it cried out unknown and half-shapen words at me. And in a moment it came again at me, but I cut the head from the beast-man, that was in verity a horrid monster, and the man died, and was quiet upon the earth. And truly, in that moment, the distress of mine efforts and mine utter tiredness, and the ache of the bruises took me, so that I do surely think I rocked as I stood, but yet was my head strong to think, and my heart set in anxiousness, for I wotted not how great a hurt had been done upon mine own. And I ran to her, and came to where she did be upon the ground, and surely she was all huddled, and had her hands very piteous to her throat that did be so pretty. And it did shake me in that moment that she was truly slain, for she was gone so utter still, and as that she did be broken unto death. And I took her hands from her throat, and surely it did be a little torn, yet not to be much, or so that it should loose her of her dear life. And I strove that I steady the trembling of my hands, and I gat free of mine armoured gloves, and made that I feel whether her throat did be deadly hurt. And in verity it seemed not so, only that my hand did so shake, because that I was so frightened for mine own, and because that I was but new come from the battle, and because of this I had not power of touch to assure me. I made then that I quieten my breath, which did yet come very full and laboured, and I put mine ear above the heart of the maid, and lo, her heart did beat, and the horridness of my fear went from me in a moment. And I had the scrip from my back very speedy, and some of the water to fizz, and I dashed the water upon her face and upon her throat, and surely there did be a little quivering and an answering of her body. And I strove with her for a while more, and she came unto life again, and in the first she was all alack, as you may think, and immediately she began that she remembered, and she then to shake. And I told her how that the four-armed man was surely dead and could harm her no more, and she then to weep, because that she had been put to such shock and horror, and held by so brutish a thing. But I took her into mine arms, and so she did come presently to an ease, and I perceived in all my being that she was as a little ship that doth lie in harbour, for she did cling and nestle unto me, and did be safe with me in all her heart and body and belief, and surely she was mine own, and I to have glory in that knowing. And presently I put her from mine arms to lie, yet so that she might not perceive the body of the yellow beast man, and I made clean the discus from her sight, and afterward I put on the scrip, and I took the maid to mine arms again, and had the discus in my hand beside her. Buckle up. And she made protest that she should truly walk, for that I was all a-weary, and she come to her strength again. And indeed I carried her a certain way, and did then put her down to her feet, and truly her knees did so tremble that she had not stood, let be to walk. And I caught her up again, and I kissed her, and I told her that I did be surely her master in verity, and she mine own baby slave. And truly you shall not laugh upon me, for I was so human as any, and a man doth talk this way with his maid. And she did be quiet and sweet, and to obey wisely, for she was gone very weak, and this wise we did go, and I to say loving words in the first, but afterward I did heed more of my going, now that she was something eased and at rest within mine arms. And I did peer everywhere about, lest that some other evil thing come outward of the bushes to have at us ere I did wear. And, truly, the bushes grew here and there in that place, very plentiful, in great dumpings. And presently I was come to the top part of the ridge, and lo, a great gladness took me, and some amazement. For there did be the lights that did be in the mouth of the upward gorge, and they did show me that I was come anigh to that place. Yet had I feared that we were surely a dozen great miles off, and now I to learn that we did be scarce of 2 or 3 maybe. Of 2 or maybe 3, as I did judge. And I told this thing to the maid, and she rejoiced in mine arms with a deep and quiet thankfulness. And I set forward then at so good a pace as I might, and I was come into the mouth part of the upward gorge in about an hour. And surely I did be very weary, for it was beyond 36 hours that we had gone since last we did sleep. And there had been sore labour and terror to our share in that time, as I have told. And I turned in the mouth of the gorge, and mine own, very gentle, that we did take our last look upon that land. And she asked that I put her down to her feet, and I put her down. And therewith we stood in that place, and mine arm about her. And so did I support the maid, the while that she looked silent over the dark of the land. And presently she asked me in a very hushed voice, whether that I knew where the lesser pyramid did be in all that darkness. For she was all adrift of her bearings, and was as a stranger, because that she had never looked upon the land from that place before then. And I showed her where I thought the pyramid to stand, hid in the everlasting night. And she nodded, very quiet, as that she did think that wise also. And so a time did pass, and I knew that Nani said goodbye forever, under all that she had known of the world in all her life, and she did be whispering a goodbye in her soul unto her dead. And I was very hushed, and deeply sorrowful for the maid, and did understand. For, in verity, there should no other human look upon that land of terror through all the quiet of eternity. And the maid did lose all her young life into that blackness, and the father that was her father, and the grave of her mother, and the friends of all her years, and there went death in the land, even then, after those that did live. And mine own shook a little within mine arm, so that I knew she strove that she be brave, to weep not. But afterwards she made not to cease from her tears, and truly I was there to be her understanding, and she did be sweet and natural ever with me, for she was mine own, and did be hourly the more so. And presently I moved a little, to sign that we go downward of the gorge, and she stayed me one moment, that she look once more over all that land. And afterwards she submitted, and turned with me, and did break into very bitter sobbing, as she did go stumbling beside me. For the sorrow of memory did fill her, and she was truly a very lonesome maid in that moment, and had come through much dreadfulness. And in a minute I stooped and lifted her, and she wept in mine arms against mine armour, and I very silent and tender with her, and carried her downward of the gorge for a great hour more. And presently she was grown calm, and I knew that she slept in mine arms. And in this wise we made farewell of that dark land, and left it unto eternity. And that is where we shall finish for tonight. Oh, damn. Almost in good time. Just a little bit before 11. Thank you for listening. I purposefully did not look up at chat when I read the words, and this is the only other time I think you're going to hear me say this, to quote the words from the book. Baby slave. I didn't want to look up at chat, but I could see out the corner of my eye a flurry of activity. No, you're welcome. Thank you for listening. Yeah, she was badly hurt, possibly dead, but her throat was really pretty. Yeah. And then I cut his head off with a really cool karate chop. Yeah. You were thinking earlier that you were getting sick of him calling her mine own, and then baby slave happened. Like, yeah, I'm not going to defend mine own. It is uncomfortably possessive. My feeling is that it's intended as like a like they're destined for each other in that sort of way, which again, nothing that I'm saying here is like a defense of this concept, my precious. Yeah. It is like a sort of, I think it's because, you know, they knew each other in this past life from which this is being written, and then they have, after eons, found each other again. There is this sense of like this is predestined, like the universe wants them to be together, and so that is how I read some of the intent behind mine own, as in like they just have to be together because that is the way of the universe. Isn't this romantic? But also I am just as uncomfortable about how like thoroughly possessive and like how much he takes ownership of her. You have less issue with mine own than pretty much everything else about the way he talks about her. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like the way he talks about her and acts about her, where he's like, yes, that's what you think, dear, but I know better. And if you don't do what I say, then I'm going to have to get threatening. Like that's, as you know, as he's established, like he's not he will go to the extent of like hitting her if she doesn't do what he tells her to do. So yeah, he treats and thinks about her like a literal child. Yes, that's where my big problem lies. Good grief, is he really her only option to get out of there? She was fine without him for weeks. Well, it doesn't sound like she was fine. she was probably going to die pretty soon, but is this a better fate? I don't know. Maybe if she'd stuck it out, someone else who actually saw her as like a human and perhaps even some sort of equal would have been better. Which is why you're very sure the corporal punishment thing is not meant to be seen as a flaw. Yeah, I think the thought that formed in my head whilst I was reading that was, I don't think Hodgson thinks this character thinks that it's a bad thing. That's I feel like as confident as I could be about, like, I don't think this is good. I think that the character who does this thinks that this is a good and fine way to act and treat women. How the author himself, who has written this character, thinks of it, yeah. Corporal punishment was the norm for children and wives for a long, long time, and this entire book was lovingly emulating that style at the time. I guess. I don't know. My thing is, without some other evidence, like without just going by what is said in the text, I'm never comfortable just going, yes, and obviously the author thinks this is good too. Like, I think that's just a line for me. Like, you could find something, you could find, I don't know, just a quote from him saying, yes, I think this is good. And I'm, yeah, absolutely, sure, that's fine. Oh, yeah, he's a dick. The character's so full of himself, of course he thinks he's doing her a favour. Yeah, exactly. You don't care what the author personally thinks. You're talking strictly about how he's portraying things in his book. Yeah. But then I don't get where... Then I guess I'm a bit lost in the discussion, because are we not saying that the author is... Are we not arguing that you think Hodgson thinks that this is cool and good and how women should be treated? I mean, it might be. Like, yeah, as you say, like that is the attitude at the time, and maybe so. And for me, it's just like a hesitance to assume based on what's written. You're saying that's how he's portraying it in this story? Yeah. Okay. I think I get what you're saying then. That the story thinks this is okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't think the story is passing judgment on it. You don't know anything about the author, but the character seems to think it's fine and normally expected. Yeah, I guess I'll agree with that. Yeah, the story seems to think it's okay. Corporal punishment is, in general, as elsewhere portrayed as good and right and moral. Yeah. In the book. Yeah. True. I guess, yeah, like the thing is sort of... yeah, the thing that I've been, and this possibly doesn't apply, and like I think I've said this a few times, is like when something, when something's a story, not a parable, and like, and this is, to be clear, this isn't me saying like you or anyone in chat is doing this, but like there's you get a lot at the moment where it's like any story, any text has to have like a moral lesson, and the bad people have to be punished because they're bad people, and the good people who exhibit good attitudes and views have to be rewarded. Otherwise, these are reflective of the author's attitudes, that actually bad things are good and bad people are good. If you have a baddie who by the end of the story doesn't get punished enough for the reader's preferences, then therefore this indicates that the person who's written the story thinks that this is good, actually. And there's a difference between didacticism and moral framing. Yeah. This is why I'm gonna have to look up. I've encountered didacticism before, but it's been a long time, and I'm tired, and I don't want to have to start looking up definitions of things just to make sure I'm arguing on the right terms. Not that I'm arguing. Yeah, I don't know. Didactic, intentionally teaching a moral lesson. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I agree that I don't think the story is going to suddenly like frame what he's doing and how he's treating her as bad. Actually, I think the story is fine with his treatment of her, and like, yes, this is how the world works, and how the world in which this is set works, and how the framework for this all is and should be, I guess. I think, yeah, I don't think he's suddenly gonna encounter any like they're not going to get back and someone's going to go like, hey, no, we saw that, we've got like a big telescope and we saw what you did, you jackass, get out. Like, he's going to get a hero's greeting when he comes back. And yeah, I don't want that for him. I think this protagonist is an asshole. I want to clarify that nothing you're saying here should be taken as an objective judgment on the entire book or anyone who likes it. You're saying it's pretty explicitly endorses some nasty attitudes. Yeah, that's fair. And no, I don't. I know you're not doing that. I think we're discussing it, which is fair. Why does my chat keep the Twitch points thing, the viewer points thing, keeps like jumping around, and it's really annoying me. Yeah, I mean, even saying that, not an objective judgment on the entire book or anyone who likes it. I want to be clear. Like, my position doesn't come from like whether I like the book or not. Honestly, I don't think it's that good a book. I don't. I think I feel like I've expressed this sentiment a few times. Like, I'm interested in it as sort of an artifact on something, on a story of this kind of setting and world and imagination being written when it was written. I think is a very fascinating artifact, and that's why I'm sticking with it, because I kind of, what, if nothing else, what we're doing here on this channel is we're creating a record, we're creating like an archive of the things that we read, and I think there's value in that, there's merit in that, and that is something that I want to do. Is this a book that I would recommend to anyone for enjoyment? No. I think perhaps one sicko to whom I have said, you might enjoy this because he likes weird, impenetrable stuff. And so I've sort of mentioned, and that's not even like a, hey, you should read this, but just like, hey, I'm reading this. If you want to know more about it, because it might be to your interest, I will tell you. That's sort of the extent of recommendation I can give to someone for whom I think could be into it. I think it's really interesting the same way a lot of Lovecraft is, in that you can see the trickle-down effects on later horror and weird fiction, and indeed on Lovecraft himself. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm, like, my position in terms of, like, I was going to say, like, separating author from the work and views and stuff like that, but even though that's the whole, like, separating the art from the artist, which the meaning of that's become, twisted, and it's like, and again, that's not saying you should like the things from problematic people, because that's not what that's saying. That's just saying, like, yes, they say what the meaning that they say it has, you're also free to, like, find your own meaning in someone's work. That's a different thing. But yeah, I don't know. And as you said, like you're not saying that you think that Hodgson himself thinks that this is cool and good. There's not necessarily a lot of evidence that he doesn't, but I'm hesitant to take people's creative works as evidence that they think this particular way. Some people, sure, some people only write the things that, you know, they agree with and think and enjoy. But I don't know. Some people write some weird and twisted stuff and are actually themselves fine and lovely people. And yeah, I don't think that your protagonist is going to encounter any like pushback on his behaviour. And as I say, he's just going to get rewarded when he gets back, and Nani will be his own, and it's just that kind of tale. But anyway, it's 11:10, and we've done some more reading. The next chapter is like it's 50 pages, which I'm not gonna do in one sitting, so I'll be splitting that in two. So that's fun. We can look forward to that. But for now, I am going to go because it is Saturday night, and I'm gonna go. And I need to turn my lights off. I've already had a few moths in here, and I do not want more. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with this character for another couple hours. We're well past the halfway mark now, so we've got some more to go, but we're getting there. And then something new will appear on the stream, but not yet. We still have a ways to go. So yes, thank you for being here. I do not know the planned schedule for the week, but that will be posted on the Discord, I am sure. And so, yeah, take care of yourselves. Be well. Thank you again. Oh yeah, we were committed after the first couple of streams. I am a quitter. Famously, I stop doing things that I say I want to do. But this one I am going to stick with. So you get to come with me or don't. We'll see you at some point. But for now I'm going to go. I'll quit the stream now temporarily until the next one. So be well, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Goodbye and good night.